Hello and thanks for watching my video. Welcome to Mikei Talk. Today I am here with Raw
Howdy.
and I'm also here with Zeppa.
Hey.
And these two are part of the guild that I'm in, and we're going to be talking about Heart of Thorns. Now obviously Heart of Thorns is coming out in a couple of days, and basically this is going to be half an hour talking about several topics all to do with Heart of Thorns. So let's start off. What is the most exciting thing that you are looking for regarding Heart of Thorns? And I'll start this with Raw because you seemed a bit optimistic about Heart of Thorns. So let's start with you.
I am seriously excited about all the specializations coming down, just because one of the things that I most enjoy doing with Guild Wars is just theory crafting new builds for stuff. Like, I'm already preparing to go Sinister gear on my Necro for Sinister Reaper. I also have a full Berserker set just to go for the Power Reaper. Just all sorts of stuff. I'm really excited for pretty much all the specializations coming down, even Berserker and Tempest, which have been getting lackluster reception from a lot of the community, but I'm actually really excited just to delve into them and see what we can do to make them work.
So it's more about the fact that you can change the way your class can play in the whole game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, and what about you, Zep? What are you looking forward to?
Well, starting off, I'd like to say that I kind of haven't really done much research into the expansion just because I want it to be more so a surprise. However, you and a few other mates have kind of given me some spoilers, and with those spoilers comes the Reaper. I main Necro, and I'm kind of looking forward to that, and it should be an OP spec in my opinion, especially when it comes to so keeping me hopeful, considering that conditions got nerfed a while ago, and my Necro
Ner-
play has been down.
I wouldn't say conditions got nerfed, I'd just say they changed around just the core way that they play.
They got reworked, so
Yeah.
it wasn't as effective, especially in PvP.
Yeah, with some things. Like, just the individual stacking wasn't quite as strong as it was in the past. Like, bleeding definitely got hit hard, but other things like burning and a lot of poison stacks, those still really hurt these days. Which
Yep,
is
yep.
why I'm going for a Sinister Reaper on one of mine, because there's a combo you can do where you start with a poison field and then go into Reaper Shroud and use Reaper 4, which is a massive whirl finisher, which by itself will stack 12 bits of poison, but then you combo for more poison bolts. And during the beta, I was able to hit like 20 stacks on a bunch of enemies easy.
Okay, so there's a few things that it's elite specializations, but is that the only thing? I mean, there's a lot of new content coming out, and obviously Zep, you not been aware of this, but there are a few major features. And I was talking to Zep earlier, and I'd say this expansion is going to be content heavy. Sorry, feature heavy rather than content heavy. Would you say that's valid?
Yeah, I would. Like a lot of the new features, they rolled out this specialization system earlier in the year to make way for the elite specializations. That's a new feature. The guild halls are going to be a huge new feature that a lot of people are really looking forward to. And me especially, just because with the guild that we're all in, I've been selected by our guild leader to be one of the main guys to help get the hall decorated and help make sure all the buildings and stuff are get up as quick as possible and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
And with that said, I do look forward to having the Guild Hall set up and everything, because one of the things that take a moment to talk about is the new items that are coming out, which adds kind of a new twist on the marketplace. That is something that I actually rather enjoy.
Well, yeah, exactly. That things like the scribe. The scribe is going to need paper and like dye. It needs to salvage dye to make like ink, and so there's going to be different changes in the economy, and so it will provide a lot of opportunity, and it'd be interesting to see what new items come into the game. Because as I said, Zep was telling me he's quite excited, to see new items come into the game, new skins. Imagine getting although we get a couple of new legend or three new legendaries, what about different new exotic weapons? If you think what are probably the most priciest exotics out there, you've got Mjolnir. You think about Volcanus. There's a few other cool skins out there, so it'd be nice to see the Dwayne skins as well.
Exactly. And with that, it adds just a whole new aspect to marketing. Quite excited.
All right. Well, let's talk about PvP then. From a PvP basis, PvP is getting leaderboards, which means that the whole way, we're not going to have ranked, like a separate outside leaderboard. We're going to be leaderboards that you can actually see as you're progressing up. And not only that, we get a new stronghold. We're getting a new game type. What are your opinions on, firstly, leaderboards and the stronghold map, and not only that, the fact that PvP is really getting pushed regarding rewards now. The fact that you can get financial rewards by entering competitions. What's your start with you, Zep? What's your overall thoughts on PvP right now and how it's going to change with Heart of Thorns?
Well, one big thing with PvP is it's kind of endgame currently. Like, other than World v World, one thing most of the people do in Fractals is come to the Heart of the Mist and PvP. And, like, for myself, I've gotten quite experienced with it, as well as a lot of other players. And I think it's about time that they have a league of some sort that allows us to test our skills that we've gathered for, like, the last 2-3 years sticking around in here.
I'm kind of excited for leaderboards just to get that overall ranking, but also kind of trepidatious, if that's a word,
Yeah.
just because it'll show me just how much we all really suck in comparison to the cream of the crop that are truly good at PvP. Whereas, with Zep and Mikey and I, we're good, we're decent, we're better than most of the average pugs, but at the same time, we still get royally wrecked every once in a while by those teams that are put together that do nothing but PvP all the time. So it'll be interesting to see where you truly match up in terms of everybody else.
But it's nice to see that they're actually making a lot of impact on PvP, and the fact that now you're going to be able to get a legendary back piece from only from doing PvP. You can't get it anywhere else. And do you think that those type of rewards are good for the game or bad? That you can only get the reward if you do that game type.
Uh, I don't think it's bad per se, but I do think that, like with regards to this legendary back piece, I don't mind that it's only available through PvP because I do PvP, but they should also have another, like a separate back piece for like, here's the legendary back piece for World v World, and here's the legendary back piece for high level PvE content and stuff like that, instead of just limiting the one back piece to the one game mode. Because I believe that that's what they tried to do in Guild Wars is diversify things as much as possible to help cater to all those different kind of play styles.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree on that point. And what about you? Zep, are you excited for the new map type? Getting Stronghold. Does it appeal to you?
I haven't really seen much about it because I've been kind of in the dark about these things.
Hmm.
But yeah, a new map will bring more gameplay and overall more exciting and new strategies, especially.
I was reading a post on Reddit earlier today, and one of the main critiques I saw on there was how Stronghold, yes, it does provide new builds and strategies and stuff, but it's also fairly one-dimensional. Like I
Yeah.
did do a good bit of the Stronghold uh, gameplay during the betas, and that is also one of the things that I noticed is that the teams will generally stay to their side of the map, maybe crossing over in the middle or for the hero spawn
Yeah.
fights. But other than that, it's pretty much just, most of your team rushing to the enemy's base, most of their team rushing to your base. And if you pull off like one or two guys to help defend, then your offensive team is at a more disadvantage, and it generally is kind of lopsided in that regard.
Yeah, I think they do need to work on it a little bit, but as something new coming in, it's going to take time for them to adjust it. Conquest isn't perfect, but it's getting some good action right now, and we'll see how Stronghold develops on that front. I mean, let's talk about some of the other issues we've had with Heart of Thorns. Are you concerned at all that there are only four maps in regards to what they've actually said that there's going to be four maps being, four brand new maps in Heart of Thorns? Are you disappointed? Are you fine with that? What are your opinions on the fact there's only four maps?
One of the things I was kind of confused by is, yeah, there's these four maps, but then they also said that there's multiple levels per map. So, or maybe it's not per map. Maybe there's only one map that has the three levels on it. So, are we
Yeah,
effectively
biomes, as
getting
they said. Yeah.
12 new maps, or are we getting seven, like effectively with the three tiers on the same map, or how's that really going to work out? That's what
Well, I
I'm
think
most curious about.
yeah, I think they've done with Verdant Brink. They gave us an example, and like I think they said that the two layers that you've got that we've seen so far is the canopy, and then the middle layer, and we haven't seen the roots yet. And I don't know if there's going to be in every map, but I mean, Verdant Brink was a big map, and it was content dense. So there is a lot to explore, but again, it's quite a different map to how ArenaNet have ever designed before. It's not like Blaze Ridge Steps. It's not like Fields of Ruin. It's not like any of the Shiver Peak maps. It's a brand new three-layered thing. But all right, let's ask you, Zep. Are you that big? Is it a big deal to you that there aren't more maps? Would you like there to be 20 maps that are all pretty flat, or do you want this more ambitious thing that they're doing?
I would rather have one really in-depth map than a bunch of maps. More so because by the time it takes the general population to learn 20 some maps, it would just be as easy as learning an in-depth map and strategizing with that. And I know for a fact, Rory yourself, you're quite good with strategies and whatnot. I feel like you would rather enjoy a map where you could have multiple strategies on rather than trying to figure out strategies for 20 new maps.
Strategies as in efficiently like doing event chains and gathering resources and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that. Like, I did a ton of dry top a little while ago. Like, I made it a mission of myself to get all of the dry top weapons, and I did about half of that in PvP to get the fossilized insects that you have to make the weapons. But the other half I did just by farming dry top and learning the rotations of the maps themselves and where all the good, like the quartz nodes and the ori nodes, where those usually spawn and stuff like that. I actually really enjoyed really delving into a single map like that for a good while.
Yeah, so I think, there are both benefits and downsides. I do think that, I think some of the maps in, if you look at the old Guild Wars 2 maps that they've had for 3 years now, they do look pretty tame, pretty empty compared to a lot of the Heart of Thorns stuff. And if you think as well, when they introduced the Civil Wastes, think about the Vine Wrath event chain. How long did it take people to actually perfect that? It was a good 2 months, you'd say, for everybody to properly get that event chain sorted. And it will probably take around 3 to 4 months, because obviously they're brand new maps and they're massive, for their people to figure out how all the events in the Verdant Brink and new maps go on. Let's move on to some of the other different features that we've had with Heart of Thorns. Let's talk about world versus world, and is world versus world? Although they've got a new map, do you think it's going to drive up interest, or is it still a little bit undervalued right now? Anyone can
Uh,
come in on this.
One of my main things, like I don't really do World v World that much, purely because that it's all completely one-sided in terms of rewards scheme. Like you're only really rewarded for taking and capturing enemy bases and strongholds and forts and stuff, and the defenders get shafted, and that's been one of the main complaints since this launched, is that defenders don't really get rewarded. So like I threw out an idea a while back of like, what if on a defending team, like say you have like 10 people in a fort that your guild specifically has captured and claimed, and so you want to incentivize people to keep that fort. And so say the Zerg comes along and they have like 50 people coming on, and like I think that in order to make that more interesting, like the defenders get a buff, like maybe all of their stats are doubled or something in relation to the attackers, like just as a random uh, posit for this idea. And so that way, like every attacker that the defenders kill, they'll get like bonus loot drops. Like instead of just one bag, they'll get two. Uh, so that way they can really help incentivize that, like breaking up the Zergs. And then from the Zerg's perspective, then whenever they whenever they actually manage to kill a defender, then they'll also get double rewards or something, just because the defenders will be harder to kill. Instead of the way it is currently, where just you get two, maybe three massive blogs of Zergs just running around the map in like a clockwise fashion. They're never actually fighting each other. They're just continuously taking forts and stuff from each other in a massive ring.
Well, maybe you could just quickly to jump in there. I could also say that if you want to encourage smaller groups, for example, you could perhaps change the way loot works and say the more people that to prevent zergs from happening. Say, okay, if a huge zerg goes in and captures a keep, for example, they'll get the bare minimum amount of loot. But if you only had, say, 5 or 10 people take that keep, that is a pretty impressive deal for only 10 people to do that. They'll get like 5 times as much, or 5 times as much loot, 5 times as better rewards, or for example, and you're encouraging smaller teams to go around and do things, and it's trying to split away from that Zerg.
Yeah, something. Just some way to diversify the rewards to not have the only viable means of doing World v World to be effectively either a massive Zerg or a solo roam, just picking fights with other solo roamers.
What about you, Zep? I mean, you got any opinion on World versus World right now?
I don't necessarily World v World quite that much, but with World v World, I feel like they should incorporate maybe more of the clan modes. For example, I know it'd be pretty cool to have a whole guild just as a going around the World v War map, going around tearing stuff up and defending. And with that said, I know they have that implied, but how often do you see a guild actually going around and use buffs and stuff? I think they should advertise that more. Other than that, I agree with.
Yeah, I think they are trying to do it something similar when, to do with the scribe and the fact that you can create different sort of buffs for your, when you're creating a scribe, and when you activate them in World versus World, you can get different boosters and such now. I just think World versus World is a bit underwhelming at the moment, and I don't think a new Borderland is likely to change that. Maybe in the short term it will, but again, I think Raw is right about the rewards in the long term. Let's move on to one of the things that I think got most people excited about Heart of Thorns, and that's guild halls. Obviously, Raw touched on it earlier. Zep, what's your opinion on guild halls and what they're going to bring for Heart of Thorns and Guild Wars 2?
I can finally use my money for something.
Or can you? We don't know that yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they should allow guild halls to be a money dump, just because it gives players like myself something to actually spend the gold on, rather than cosmetic stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with spending gold on cosmetic gear and whatnot, but I think it would be kind of cooler to spend gold on cosmetic stuff for the entirety of a group. You
mean like decorations, for example, or a jumping puzzle?
Or yeah, even a jumping puzzle. Like if it costs, let's just throw out 2,000 gold to get a solid jumping puzzle going. I would be more than down to donate that, just as a jumping puzzle as a whole. Just because of how many guilds can say they will have a full working jumping puzzle, and along with that, let's just say golden statues or something like that, stuff that shows wealth and labor and decor.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like they have a preset jumping puzzle that you can buy for 2,000 gold, and it changes the sort of changes the map, and then that way every one of your guild can actually go in and do the jumping puzzle. That's an interesting idea. But yeah, I think. What about you, Roy? Are you happy with guild halls and being able to be a little bit creative or bring creativity to the guild hall?
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that I'm looking forward to, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but one of the other big projects I was doing was to get all of the nodes for the home instance upgrades. Like I
Yeah.
now have pretty much every single thing as of the making of this, except for the treasure hunter achievement. But that's not publicly gatherable anyway, and it's a pain in the butt, so I'm not bothering with that one. But I have pretty much everything else, I believe. And so from that aspect, I'm really looking forward to guild halls as a way to take that same sort of drive and initiative to make a communal space that everybody in the guild can benefit from, like be it gathering nodes or like a lot of the building upgrades, like the tavern and all that sort of stuff. It's just going to be nice to have a communal space that people can gather in instead of just everybody all clumping in Lion's Arch or something, like how a lot of people do these days.
The one thing I wish would be in the guild hall would be a Mystic Forge. I think that would be much better to if you had a Mystic Forge in the guild hall, much like they have the captain's airship and that has the Mystic Forge there. I wish that was in there and crafting stations and such. I think that if they had everything in the captain's airship in your guild hall, it'd make the guild hall even better. Okay, that's just me, the opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then let's talk about some of the other different things that are coming into Guild, with Heart of Thorns. Obviously, there are probably going to be a lot more gem items coming into the game. You are going to have the ability to glide as part of the new mastery system. Do you think the mastery system is going to work out well for them? And what that's actually going to lead on to is raids and end game content. Because as a sort of a shallow end game, you can talk about masteries. Precursor, the commanders. Is it Commander's Compendium where you can go around and help people? Interior. The fractals, that's on the main interior line, and then you've got all the like gliding and mushroom lore. It's all lore, sorry. So do you think that's going to be like a light end game, and then raids being the heavy end game?
Like with the masteries, I think initially that's going to be a lot of people's main focus is just get the masteries done. But if the masteries are account wide, then once it's done, then it's done. There's nothing else to really do with it. And with the raids, I don't know, like with the dungeon nerf that's coming, if they're trying to funnel more people into fractals and raids and things, that that might, I don't know, that might turn some people off of the idea, just because like with dungeons, they're kind of like a medium in-game thing. Like
Yeah.
if you've never done dungeons before, like not like us where we've been here since launch effectively and have done all the dungeon paths hundreds of times and we know them backwards and forwards. To us, they're nothing, and we can just run through them real fast. But for new people coming into the game, especially since free to play, a lot of people don't know those optimal speed run routes and strategies and things. And so if you don't do those strategies, dungeons can be really hard. Like, for example, COE Citadel of or Crucible of Eternity Path 1, when you have to, like, everybody has to push the console
Yes.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
middle of
Yeah.
the big room with all of the bomb golems coming in. If you don't know to have one person just killing all the golems real fast and the other four people pushing the button, then it's a big pain to actually get through that room without wiping. So if if dungeons are supposedly the easy version of it, and they're testing raids with some of the two most like speed runny and very well coordinated guilds out there. Like I saw that they were that ArenaNet actually invited Death and Taxes D&T and another
Yeah.
guild to help test the raids. If they're using those type of people as a baseline for it, then how difficult is it going to be for the rest of us? Will it be pretty nearly impossible to, get these done? And I get that that's the whole point of
Mm.
raids is that it's not supposed to be easy, but they don't want to make it. But I feel like it's going to be too difficult to really encourage a lot of people to do them on a more regular basis, even if they are time gated to be once a week or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask Zeb. I mean, Zeb, I thought you'd be pretty excited about raids, considering that they're supposed to be in-game content.
Yeah, one thing I've always been kind of preaching is that, sweet, once you get to level 80, now what? Scented gear, okay, fractals are done. Shit, I'm out of things to do, you know? And with raiding, it offers something I believe it does cater to the minority extremely. However, it's something to do now. It's dungeons are fun and all, but like Rory, you were saying earlier, at this point, it takes me like maybe an hour to go through every dungeon in the game. It's just a face roll. And with that said, it's rating should be difficult. I don't want it to be easy. Because if they make it easy, then it defeats the purpose of having it be endgame.
Well, I think the longest content right now and the hardest. Well, I say hard. It's not really. Fractal's level 50. On a good run, I can do that in 35 minutes. And when I compare it to Guild Wars 1 endgame content, a good run, all right, I didn't do many of the stuff at Guild War at endgame content, but you could be doing the endgame content, which was the Fisher of Woe or the Underworld. You could be doing that for up to an hour to 2 hours, and that's what I'm hoping raids are. I want raids to be longer content. Or are you guys in disagreement on that, or do you think is 45 minutes long enough? What would be an appropriate time for doing one complete raid?
That's something kind of hard to say, because at the same time you have people who only can play 30 minutes a day, and to have something like that in the game would just be a complete buzzkill for them. They'd have to make time for it, and majority of adults aren't able to do that due to work lives. So I think 45 minutes is about the maximum time anything should take, unless it's like a raid, which should then take longer, because if you are going to raid, you should be able to commit time to it more so than a fractal, for example.
And the fact it's only once a week, the rewards are only once a week.
Yeah, it should take longer in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing. No, I'm just gonna say I'm not disagreeing that it should not be hard or take long or anything like that. I'm just saying that because Guild Wars 2 main draw is the casual audience, that it might turn a lot of people off to be like, oh, I need to be part of like a 300-person guild just to have enough people available at any given time to be able to even attempt these things. And I like my small little 5-person guild. That's me and my friends, and we can't do all this stuff. Wah. That might turn a lot of those kinds of people off.
Okay, all right. Well, we've covered a lot of topics here. Let's do a quick summing up. Let me ask you guys, just to, give me like a one-word answer each. What are you most fearful for, or you're worried about with Heart of Thorns? Just one word. Just it doesn't have to be. It can be anything. What are you most worried about?
Grind. Just the grind that it's going to take to get all of the elite specializations now for all the characters.
Okay, and what are you most hopeful for? What are you really excited for with Heart of Thorns?
All of those elite specializations, because it's kind of like an ascended gear thing for me. Like, okay. I don't have any ascended gear on my characters, but being able to proudly say, hey, I have all 8 of my characters, they're now fully elite spec, ready to go.
Maybe 9 then.
Yeah, 9 now. That's going to be something not a whole lot of people will be able to say.
And Zep, what about you? What are you most excited about?
As far as excitement goes, I'm most excited for new items in the market. I really look forward to making a decent profit off the items coming in.
And I'll just quickly on that, I'll ask you again, Zep. What is the very first thing when you first play Heart of Thorns? What's the very first thing you're gonna do?
Probably run to the marketplace and buy everything that's viable.
That's really expensive.
That's really expensive. Yeah, that's pretty much what I want to do.
And what about you, Raw? What are you gonna do first?
I'm gonna do Halloween.
You're gonna do Halloween?
Oh. I'm gonna do Halloween first, just because Halloween's only gonna be around for a couple weeks. Heart of Thorns is gonna be there, hopefully, for the foreseeable future.
Yep, and I will be doing the story. I will be streaming as well, so my plan is to do a marathon stream. I'm going to try and stream for around about 9 hours. That is my ambition. So, yes. All right, well, thank you very much, Raw and Zep, for being part of Mikei Talk here. This has been us talking about Heart of Thorns and how excited we are for Heart of Thorns. Please leave your comments in the section below if there's anything, what are you excited about? What are you worried about? Please leave your comments in the section below. And thank you to Raw. Thanks very much, mate.
My pleasure, man.
And thanks to Zep.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Cool, and we'll see you on the next video.